federal government makes changes to student loan repayments to help graduates who are struggling with the cost of living.
What we're announcing today is a big deal for 3 million Australians. It'll reduce the amount that they have to repay in student debt every year.
Three days out from the US election, Donald Trump faces criticism over comments about a political opponent.
Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it.
Hundreds of people remain unaccounted for in the catastrophic floods in eastern Spain. And a shooter is on the run following the death of a man near a Halloween party in Melbourne. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Mariam Saab. University graduates could save hundreds of dollars a year in student debt repayments under the federal government's shake-up of the HECS system. The reforms are contingent on the Albanese government being re-elected. The opposition says that paying less each year means that it may take graduates longer to pay off their debt.
A pre-election pitch to younger Australians, struggling amid a cost of living crunch.
Everybody earning up to $180,000 a year will pay less every year in their student debt repayments.
The government unveiling an election commitment to reduce the burden of student debt, months out from the election.
What this will do is help people who are just starting out, who've just finished uni, who've just finished TAFE, and have now got to pay the bills, pay the rent or are saving for a mortgage.
3 million Australians would benefit from the changes, which would be introduced to Parliament if the Albanese government is returned at the next election. They'd include a shift to a marginal repayment system, similar to the income tax thresholds, where you pay a set rate per dollar over a certain level rather than a percentage of total earnings. Graduates could also earn more before they have to start repaying the debt, with an increase to the minimum repayment threshold from $54,000 to $67,000. The average university graduate will be $680 better off a year under the changes. For graduates earning $70,000 a year, their repayments will fall by $1,300. Those on $80,000 will pay $850 less. And it's got the approval of the original architect of the scheme.
HECS has been wrong for about 35 years, collecting on the basis of total income. I don't think it's mattered a lot overall, but it has certainly disadvantaged people at those crunch points.
Students are mostly on board.
There's so much more you can do with that extra money, especially when you're young and you're trying to start up your life.
I think it would be like a huge difference. I think it would really open up a lot of opportunities for people.
It's a good idea, but I do think more needs to be done.
Like the spare money would be good, but probably just use it to keep repaying it anyway.
The government's suite of reforms to tackle student debt, including some yet to be announced, won't come cheap. But the government insists they'll go some way to addressing generational inequality. The opposition isn't on board, arguing the reforms risk signing young people up to a lifetime of debt. Nicole Hegarty, ABC News, Canberra.
The two candidates in the race for the White House have spent the day campaigning in the mid-western Rust Belt. Violent language is again polarising the nation after Donald Trump suggested former Republican Liz Cheney should have guns in her face. Kamala Harris said the comments should disqualify the former US president from standing for office. Following outrage over the remark, the Trump campaign doubled down, claiming the comments were intended to criticise Ms Cheney as a warmonger. Our correspondent Elias Kluhl reports from the swing state of Michigan.
The parties are in Michigan, another crucial battleground.
Hello, Michigan.
On the final weekend of campaigning,
4 days left.
Both candidates have returned to the one-time auto manufacturing heartland, courting blue-collar voters.
At Chrysler, GM and Ford plants, they're telling me that 65%, a solid 65%, are supporting Donald Trump.
She's for the working people. She's for the everyday
everyday Joe that busts his ass in this country.
We will invest in the industries that built America, like steel, iron, the electric power industry.
The former president also used his visit to drive up support among Muslim voters in the nation's largest Arab American community.
You're going to have peace in the Middle East, but not with the clowns that you have running the U.S. right now.
Donald Trump's Rust Belt swing is forming part of his final pitch to working-class voters, but instead this particular trip to here in Detroit has been overshadowed by comments he made about former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
The outspoken Republican, who says she's now voting for the Democrats, took to X and described the comments as cruel and vindictive. This is how dictators destroy free nations, she said.
This must be disqualifying. Anyone who wants to be president of the United States who uses that kind of violent rhetoric is clearly disqualified and unqualified to be president.
Later, President Trump clarified his comments on Truth Social, saying the former Congresswoman wouldn't have the guts to fight for herself. Joining Kamala Harris's fight, more star power, actor Mark Ruffalo.
She's our only choice, folks.
And pop star Cardi B.
I'm with Kamala. In America, I believe in you to turn out on Tuesday. Turn out and turn up on Tuesday. Turn the page and let's win this thing.
Some glitz and glamour in an increasingly ugly race. Elias Kluwer, ABC News, Michigan.
Our Global Affairs editor John Lyons is in Washington with his take on how the candidates are performing.
In the final days before the US presidential election, both candidates are continuing to make their last-minute pitch to voters in the 7 swing states across the country, but are narrowing their focus on states including Michigan and Wisconsin. But all eyes will be on Pennsylvania, with its large number of electoral college votes. It could be the deciding state in this election. Donald Trump is continuing to play to what the Republicans see as their 2 strongest issues: immigration and the economy. Kamala Harris is highlighting reproductive rights, particularly in terms of abortion, but is also trying to bolster her economic credentials with voters. This election result is simply impossible to predict, and key pollsters say the result may not be known for some days after the election.
And we will have full coverage of the US election here on the ABC News channel. So join us for the count from 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time this coming Wednesday, the 6th of November. Hundreds of people remain unaccounted for following the catastrophic floods in eastern Spain. Emergency crews are searching through washed-up cars and abandoned buildings, with the death toll now exceeding 200. Thousands of volunteers have turned out in force to help with the mammoth cleanup.
3 days on from the destructive deluge, reinforcements are arriving. Volunteers armed with shovels and brooms stream into the disaster zone to lend a hand.
It's amazing. It's thousands of people coming from Valencia, like a big corridor of people, heartwarming.
Locals forced to get creative to get by. Dirty bottles plucked from the river can't afford to go to waste here, where everything is running out.
No matter how much help comes, this is not going to be fixed in a month or 2.
The task is overwhelming. Entire towns have been ripped apart by the floodwaters, while help is yet to reach others that are completely cut off.
We haven't been through the worst part yet. Nothing can come through, no food, nothing.
The devastation is everywhere. These cars were swept into a tunnel. Firefighters now combing through one by one, searching for the missing. Shock is giving way to mounting anger at how a disaster of this scale could unfold with so little warning.
There was no warning at all. I think that this caught everyone by surprise.
Our local government didn't do anything about it, knowing they well knew that, this was coming.
This was Australian Caroline Doyle's view. She'd been teaching an English class and rushed her students to safety.
We heard
the boom of the doors being ripped off the house in front of us and the water just flooding in.
She says the clean-up is impossible to comprehend.
It just seemed unbelievable.
And inconceivable from above too. This was the region 3 days ago. Now it's been completely transformed. Experts say human-induced climate change makes these disasters more likely and more severe. Soldiers have been sent in to join the swarms of volunteers as they begin a recovery mission, which could take years. Bridget Rollison, ABC News.
Iran's supreme leader has threatened Israel and the US with a crushing response over Israel's attacks on the Islamic Republic and its allies. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's comments come after intense Israeli airstrikes that killed at least 52 people in northeastern Lebanon, according to the country's health ministry. Israel's Air Force also destroyed dozens of buildings in the capital Beirut's southern suburbs and continues to bombard parts of southern Lebanon. In central Gaza, Palestinians recovered the bodies of 25 people, including children, killed in Israeli attacks that began on Thursday. The UN is warning of apocalyptic conditions in northern Gaza, with the entire population at imminent risk of dying from disease, famine and violence after nearly a month under Israeli siege. Rockets fired from Lebanon's Hezbollah into central Israel on Saturday injured at least 11 people, according to Israeli officials. To Serbia, a young girl is among at least 14 people killed after a roof collapsed at a train station. The concrete canopy came crashing down onto a set of benches outside the station in Novi Sad, the country's second largest city. 3 people remain in hospital, all of them in serious condition. A vigil was held for victims, locals lighting candles and laying flowers at makeshift memorial. The government has declared Saturday an official day of mourning and has promised an investigation into the collapse. A shooter remains at large in Melbourne after a man was shot dead near a Halloween party overnight. Police are urging witnesses to come forward as they try to piece together what happened.
A night out with a tragic ending. A man's body lies on Langford Street in North Melbourne. Somewhere, a family and friends are grieving. Police say the man had been shot dead at around 3 a.m. He was found just 30 meters away from a venue that had been hosting a Halloween party. Police could not confirm if either the victim or the shooter had attended the party earlier in the evening. As the police investigation got underway, the situation became charged, with fighting breaking out in the street.
There were a number of people in the area and emotions were high. But I really want to take this, just highlight the fact this is an opportunity. We are here to appeal for witnesses. That we know that there were a lot of people in the area at the time. We urge those witnesses to reach out, to contact police.
Detectives are yet to release further details about the victim and are yet to make any arrests over his death.
We are in the infancy of this investigation. There is nothing to suggest there is an ongoing immediate risk to the community.
Police were unable to confirm how many shots were fired or if anyone else was injured.
Our priority is here to support the family who are impacted in this horrible situation, to bring those offenders to account and really to let the local community know, give them the reassurance that Victoria Police are here to support them.
Police have marked out quite a large crime scene here. It sprawls several intersections, and they say they'll be here late into the evening trying to piece together exactly what happened. Samantha Johnsher, ABC News, Melbourne.
Former Victoria Premier Daniel Andrews and his wife Kath have responded to a leaked 000 call that he made to emergency services following a car accident with a teenage cyclist back in 2013. Ryan Muir-Laman was 15 years old at the time and was seriously injured after colliding with the Andrews car, driven by the then opposition leader's wife Kath. Mr Andrews, who was a passenger, has always maintained that they did nothing wrong. Well, today he said that the recording confirms their previous statements that the cyclist came flying through a bike path and T-boned their car at speed. Police have investigated the incident and they haven't laid any charges. IBAC also found no deficiencies in police conduct over the matter. In the audio, Mr Andrews can be heard describing the collision. A federal jury in the United States has convicted a former Kentucky police detective of using excessive force during a botched drug raid 4 years ago, which left black woman Breonna Taylor dead. It's the first conviction of a Louisville police officer involved in the deadly raid. Brett Hankerson, who is white, fired 10 shots into Taylor's glass door and windows during the raid, with some of the shots flying into a next-door neighbour's apartment. The death of the 26-year-old woman, along with the May 2020 police killing of black man George Floyd in Minneapolis, helped spark Black Lives Matter protests across the US. In the UK, the opposition Conservative Party has announced that Kemi Badenoch as its new leader. She was voted by party members and replaces former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who announced that he was stepping down after the Conservatives' crushing election defeat 4 months ago. And in other news, art thieves armed with heavy explosives have made off with 2 artworks by Andy Warhol in the Netherlands. The gallery owner has described the heist as amateurish. He says that the thieves blew open the doors, then ripped 2 artworks from their frames, damaging them beyond repair. Another 2 works were abandoned in the street, reportedly because they didn't fit in the getaway car. The screen prints were part of a 1985 series by Warhol, depicting the then queens of the UK, the Netherlands, Denmark and Swaziland. From the Gove Peninsula down to Groote Island, First Nations people have passed down the stories of their ancestors' trade with the moccasins from modern-day Indonesia. Some traditional owners hope that a new documentary might help educate Australians about the trade to help address concerns about illegal fishing. And a warning, this story does contain the image of an Aboriginal person who has died.
Under the Sulawesi sun, a young marine scientist helps reconstruct traditional ships it's believed her ancestors used to sail to the top end long before the British arrived. Across the Banda and Arafura seas, their stories were passed down in songlines to Yolngu leaders.
Yolngu people would sit with moccasins and draw in the sand and talk about locations, maps, where to find water, access to food.
The history of trade shown in rock paintings of Indonesian ships and early photographs of First Nations people in Southeast Asia. A new documentary screened in Bali and Darwin explores the 2 cultures' ongoing connections.
A huge privilege to have so many different cultures and languages kind of involved in this. It's also really challenging at times on a language level.
A recent spike in illegal fishing boats discovered in top-end waters has caused alarm among traditional owners, with some hoping recognition of Indonesia and the Yolngu people's long ties will help foster mutual respect for sea country.
We're very, protective, where Yolngu people were very open towards relationship building.
We'd love to have schools seeing the film.
Participating in the film was an educational journey for one of its stars, who spoke to the ABC through a translator.
Oh, we are deeper than we thought. This relationship is way much deeper than we understand. Then this relationship is beyond transactional.
The team's now crowdfunding in hopes of screening the documentary around Indonesia. Lillian Rangia, ABC News, Darwin.
Many Australians love this time of year when Jacaranda trees come out in full bloom. But it's hard to compete with the love on display in one New South Wales country town. Grafton has built an entire carnival around Australia's oldest floral festival, which is now going 90 years strong.
For almost a century, the city of Grafton has blossomed every spring thanks to its embrace of the colour purple. Purple pleats, purple performances, and most importantly, purple petals.
The blooming is by far the best I've seen in 5 years I've been back home. It's just sensational to see. It's got a lot to do with what rainfall we had throughout the year.
An estimated 45,000 people will take in the sights at this year's Jacaranda Festival, which is celebrating its 90th anniversary. and bringing on a new wave of nostalgia.
They're very vivid memories for me and a lot of us here in the house. We all held a streamer and we went round and then come back again. It was really lovely to share.
The city's signature jacarandas go back even further. This is where it all started. Grafton's first jacaranda trees were planted right here in the 1890s, and many of those originals can still be seen here today. That's why this street is known to locals as Jacaranda Avenue. Many of the festival traditions have also lasted the test of time, including the crowning of a jacaranda queen. But some new traditions are being born, including a half marathon passing by many of the city's 1,700 jacarandas. Sarah Blackman has been training for it while also getting students involved from the local high school.
It's just wonderful being able to run in an event with all our local running community here together in our town among the beautiful jacarandas.
Look how many people are here. There's nothing negative, it's always positive. Like, everyone has a good time with Jacaranda.
I love getting to see them enjoy it as much as we used to when we were kids.
I love the town and I love my history and I love this place.
Memories old and new, sowing the seeds for a new generation of Jacaranda fans. Jasmine Cassis, ABC News, Grafton.
Jockey Jamie Carr has capped off a roller coaster day, claiming the Victoria Derby and becoming just the second female to do it. The 28-year-old is, however, feeling every bit of today's hectic schedule. An emotional Group 2 win, followed by a scary incident that's left her with a suspected broken nose.
A day that belonged entirely to Jamie Carr. The Flemington feature, hers to keep.
With 100 to go, is pulling out. It's the stronger. It's going well. And Gold Rush Guru won the Derby.
A Derby delight on board Gold Rush Guru, Carr claiming the 3-year-old classic.
Well, Jamie Carr's remarkable day just takes another amazing twist.
Both horse and jockey from South Australia, the hometown connection paying off.
I couldn't stop him. He wanted to do another lap.
To come across the line today, take the win, it's fantastic.
An emphatic win capping a roller coaster start to the day.
A win that means so much. Another Will by a length and a quarter.
Claiming victory in race 4 on board another Will, Carr's emotion laid bare. Saluting the heavens as she paid tribute to the horse's late owner, Colin McKenna, who passed away last Sunday.
Today, I just wanted to make Cole proud, and thank God we got the win in the end.
Very proud. Yeah, he's just such a great mentor, mate.
Carr was set to ride again in race 5 before being knocked in the face by her horse.
Out there about this incident with Jamie Carr that we're seeing right now. Wow.
Forced to dismount with a blood nose as doctors tried to stem the bleeding. Hurry Curry was scratched from the race. Carr later passing a concussion test, paving the way for her Derby glory. Trackside, most followed the day's traditional black and white dress code. Others missed the memo.
I did go navy because I didn't know until approximately 3 hours ago.
The sun is out in Flemington is set to welcome 80,000 people through the gates today alone. Fascinators and fashion front and centre as Australia's Golden Girl made a splash. But even 6-time Olympic gold medalist Emma McKeon couldn't take the golden day away from Jamie Carr. The stewards took the shine off, handing Carr a 10-metre suspension starting after Cup Day. Alexia Pesce, ABC News.
Auckland FC has won the A-League's first ever Kiwi derby, beating Wellington Phoenix 2-0. Jake Brimmer was the hero as he punished Wellington for a late error, and the midfielder soon scored his second goals, giving the Black Knights a sweet victory as well as a top spot on the ladder. In Gosford, the Central Coast Mariners played out a 0-0 draw with Perth Glory. And last night, Sydney FC beat Brisbane Roar 3-2 with a winning shot from Jaden Kucharski. Western Australia's Luke Travers has made his NBA debut for the unbeaten Cleveland Cavaliers, impressing the franchise that he was drafted to 2 years ago. The Rockingham product entered the Cavs match against the Orlando Magic with just under 4 minutes remaining, but he made his presence felt. The former Perth Wildcats and Melbourne United player finished with 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists and a block. The Perth Wildcats have won 2 in a row without star Bryce Cotton, beating the in-form Illawarra Hawks 113-105 in Perth. After being named in the Boomers squad this week, Ben Henschel shone for the Wildcats, scoring a career-high 26 points. The contest was Jesse Wagstaff's 482nd NBL game, equalling Wildcats great Ricky Grace's club record. He'll break that record when Perth faces southeast Melbourne Phoenix tomorrow. And North Melbourne has sewn up the AFLW's minor premiership after a near-perfect season. The Roos' victory over the Gold Coast was their 10th this year, and with a draw in round 2, they remain undefeated heading into the finals series. Meanwhile, the Demons are one step closer to a finals berth after a big win over Collingwood.
To fall forward in the
it was almost just a formality at Arden Street.
Who runs into goal and kicks a major.
The Kangaroos powering past their lowly ranked opponent Gold Coast
for goal number 4, Alice O'Loughlin.
And hitting their stride at the top of the ladder as the finals approach. Captain Kate Hoare's 3-goal haul has helped Melbourne climb into the top 8 for now.
And she snaps a ripper for back-to-back goals for the captain.
The Demons' biggest win this season, keeping them alive in the finals race as they await the result of the Bombers versus the Blues.
Fingers crossed, it's kind of hard when it's out of your hands, but I guess that's just the cards we've been dealt with this season.
While wooden spooner Collingwood farewelled veteran player Stacey Livingston, the Magpie defender playing her final game after being drafted in the inaugural AFLW season. The Swans wrapped up their season with a 46-point win over the Eagles.
Hamilton snaps around the corner and finishes off.
Brooke Loughlin and Evie Gooch also calling time on their careers. Last night,
and the Crows end Geelong's season.
Another close loss spelled curtains for the Cats. The Crows now locked in to the top 4.
It was a tough game. It was a bit nerve-wracking for the coach, but ultimately really pleased.
Adelaide's 5th straight finals campaign begins next week. Erin Marsico-Vetere, ABC News.
A quick look at tomorrow's weather now. Brisbane will have a few showers. It'll be mostly sunny in Sydney, wind in Canberra. Melbourne will see showers, partly cloudy in Hobart. Adelaide can expect a few showers, mostly sunny in Perth, and a possible storm there for Darwin, reaching right up to 35. There's more on the ABC News app and on ABC iView. I'm Mariam Saab. Coming up next is If You're Listening, America's Last Election. Stay tuned.